Alright folks, this is going to be a pretty long video, but it's going to be for beginner players. I'm going to be talking about training mode, and I'm going to be talking about every option in training mode, and what they're useful for and what they're not useful for, and basically how to use training mode so that you can learn the game, figure out how to beat people that are beating you, and yeah, just get better overall. So first things first, on the screen right now you're going to notice that something is missing, and that's the health bars. I turned them off because I don't like the way the new health bars look. When I'm in training mode, I basically keep them off all the time because there's really no useful information there for me. At the end of the day, like, I see how much damage I'm going to do when I have the combo counter. It tells me right there, right on the center of the screen on the left hand side. It says damage, total damage, so on and so forth. So I don't need it on. When you press start, you get this menu, right? And this menu has 4 tabs, right? So this is basically going to be the most important page right here, the first tab. So we're going to talk about this last. First things first, let's just go over this page. So we have a couple of options here. We have restart position, player direction, opponent direction, player status, opponent status, and switch position. These other ones are going to be here on every tab. So from reset all the way down to return to main menu, these are pretty self-explanatory, right? Reset resets all of your options back to the default. Move list brings up your character's move list. Controller setup, if you need to change your button binds, you can do it here. Simple select, this was just added with the Julia and Negan update, where now I don't have to go back to character select and then go to stage select and then come back to training mode to switch characters. I can just do it right here. It brings me up here, player 1, Brian, player 2 is Heihachi. If I want to change player 1, I click on it, and I can switch to another character, or I can just move the stick or the D-pad over to whatever character I want to choose. I can also change the side, I can change the customized slots, whatever. I can change my button layout here as well, but I'm not going to be doing any of that here, so this is pretty useless for me right now. Stage select, pretty self-explanatory, and again, character select, I think right now this is pretty redundant, because they added simple select, so there's really no reason to ever do this unless I guess you want to change characters and change stage, but I think it's faster to just do it through simple select and then go to stage select. So let's talk about this what's specific to this tab here, right? So restart position, default, if I restart, it's always going to put me here. You can see that the moon is at the top of the screen, right? In the background, the moon is at the top of the screen in the middle. If I change it to current position, and I hit Heihachi a little bit, right, and now I'm going to reset it. It's set to current position, I'm going to reset it. Now the moon is not there. I'm in a different place. You can't really tell because this is an infinite stage. The moon's over there. If this was a walled stage, then I would show up somewhere else. It would reset us somewhere else, wherever the last position was that I was in when I hit the button. That's not really that useful, to be honest. I suppose if you're trying to like do combo videos or something, you need a specific location, then it can be useful, I think. But I don't even think that would work. So I don't really see that as being useful at all. Basically, you just keep this on default at all times. Player direction, if I have it set to front, which it's set by default, Brian looks at Heihachi. If I reset it, Brian looks at Heihachi. If I set it set to right, and I reset, now my right-hand side, the right-hand side of Brian's body is facing Heihachi. If I set it to left, the left-hand side of Brian's body is facing Heihachi. And if I set it to back, I'm now back turned. This, honestly, I can't think of any uses for it either. Yeah, I don't think there's too many uses for this on its own, but it does come in handy with some of the other stuff in terms of downed positions. Opponent direction, this is just the same thing but for the dummy. Player status, this is what I was talking about. So by default it's set to stand, so when I reset the training mode, I'm standing up, I can move around. If I set it to face up, I'm going to reset, and now I'm on the ground, face up, feet towards Heihachi. This is one of the grounded positions in the game. And from this position, I have different wake-up options. I can do this, I can do this, I can hold back to stand up, I can hold up to stand up in the same spot, I can roll in the other direction, I can roll forward, and I can do this. Right? This is the wake-up kick that everybody likes to use for whatever reason. So those are my options there. If I set it to face down, though, and I restart, Brian is now face down, head towards. And here my options change. I can hold back to stand up. I can hold up to stand up. I can hold forward to roll forward. I can still roll to the side. I can roll to the other side. I can wake up with this kick, but this kick is not the same as the other one. This is a mid kick, right? But it's not the same as the other one. The frame data on it is different and the properties on it are different. Same thing, I can wake up with a low kick. Again, frame data is different, properties are different. What I cannot do from this position is do the get up kick that I was talking about. I can't do this from that position. So this is for the opponent status. This is the same thing, face up, face down. This is useful if you want to check to see what moves you have that hit on the ground. So now Heihachi's laying on his back. Does this hit on the ground? Oh, it does, but it's kind of inconsistent. If I sidestep, does it hit on the ground? Oh, it does, but it's kind of inconsistent. What about this? This hits on the ground. What about this? This does not hit on the ground. Right? So if my opponent is just laying on the ground and I need to know, does this hit him on the ground? I can check it like this. Now, what I was talking about earlier with player direction. If I set Brian to now be back turned, right? He has his back turned to Heihachi. And I switch player status to face up. He's now laying down on the ground, face up, head towards, or feet away, whatever you want to call it. And from here I have different options as well. I have this kick. I have this kick. I can do that to stand up, which is holding back. I can hold up to stand up. I can roll. I can roll in the other direction. I can roll towards Heihachi. Again, I cannot do the spring kick, right? Now, if I set this to face down, now I'm laying on my stomach, feet towards Heihachi, face down. And again, I have different options here. I can get up, I can hold up, I can roll towards him, roll to the sides. I can not do the same wake up option that I've been talking about. It's also worth noting that you cannot do the toe kick from a fully grounded position, and I'll show that in a little bit. So that's what that's useful for. Switch positions is obviously, it's just going to switch us, we gotta change that. It's just going to switch us, now I'm going to be on two-player side, right? So if I need to check something like, I want to practice my combos on two-player side, and I forgot to pick two-player side in character select, I can do it here, right? Or if I want to set my opponent to the wall with their back to the wall, and I'm like, oh wait, I need to set my back to the wall, I would set it to the wall positioning in restart position. If this was a walled stage, this will have a wall. If there's a balcony break, it'll have a balcony. If there's a, I think those are the only, oh yeah, those are the only things, because it doesn't have floor breaks, right? But in order to reset the balcony break and the wall breaks and the floor breaks, it will say default restore gimmicks or something like that, and that's the option you have to select in order to go back to the before the balcony broke, basically. So if you want to practice like a balcony break combo, that's the way you would do it. Display settings, like I said, I have health gauge to hide, but by default it's set to display. That just shows you the health gauge and the timer, which in training mode is pretty useless. For me, at least. So the first option here is command history. This, I turn it on. This gives me my command history on the bottom, so I can see if I'm doing my inputs properly. If I'm trying to practice doing a move or trying to practice doing a combo, I can see, am I doing the input correctly? Is it a timing issue? Is it I'm mashing buttons like crazy? What's going on there? This is how I can see. If I'm trying to practice fuzzy guarding, right, I can see that I have that down input or that down back input. If I'm trying to practice sidestep guard, I can see that I'm actually blocking. So it might not be that I'm not blocking, maybe it's just that I'm not blocking in time. And that's the way you do that. If you want to practice Korean backdashing, the proper way, right? Or the lazy way, whichever way you want to do it, this is the way you would check it. You know, to make sure that your inputs are correct. Same thing with buttons, right? Pretty self-explanatory, so I'm going to turn that off now. Player attack info. It's set to display by default. If I turn it to hide, the little attack info on the left of the screen goes away. That's very useful to have on because number one, it's going to tell you the combo damage. So if I do a combo, whatever, it's going to tell me the total damage that I did, right? That's number one. Number two, though, it's also going to tell me the damage scaling on each attack. So, for example, if I hit Heihachi with Jet Upper in a standing position, it deals 20 damage. And right next to the 20, it says 100%. Right? 20 damage. However, if I set Heihachi to jump, and I hit him with Jet Upper out of the air, I only do 70% of that damage, which is 14. Similarly, if I set Heihachi to be on the ground, right, and I hit him with kickoff or mid soccer kick, it only does 80% of the damage. So airborne opponents take 70% of damage on the first hit, standing opponents take 100% of the damage on the first hit, assuming it's not counter hit, right? And grounded opponents take 80% of damage on the first hit. And the same rules, there's the same scaling stuff applies to the wall. So if I'm doing a combo, you're going to notice that every hit of the combo causes the scaling, the percentage to go down. Because every subsequent hit of that combo after the first one is going to give me less and less damage. So 100, 70, 50, 40, 30, 30, 30, right? And then when I get to the wall, it's going to keep doing that. Unless I reset the situation, and I can't show you that with Brian because he doesn't really have that, right? I suppose, like, here, I messed it up, right? The first hit that after the 3+4 and I floated him, the first hit does 70% damage because he's technically in an airborne state. Heihachi is. That's why it floats him. And that's why it deals 70% of the damage. Right? So that's very useful for that. Also, it's also useful to check if I have, like, let's say I turn his on, right? If I turn both of them on. And I want to check to see how much damage he gets on a punish. Is it a lot of damage? Is it like 35 damage or something? Or is it like 16 damage? I can check to see. I can check to see if we trade in a particular situation, right? Is it favorable for me or is it favorable for him in terms of damage? So if, let's say I trade this with his down forward 1, who gets more damage? This is the way I can check it. And I mean, I suppose you could use like this, right? Oh, he's doing down forward 2. My bad. Never mind. Forget about that. I forgot that mimic feature sucks. So anyways, that's what that's useful for. Hit properties, it's just tells you high, mid, low, special mid, unblockable, or if there's like a throw, right? Now, sometimes it's useful to turn this off if you're training against a specific mix-up or something like that. Like let's say it's a, I don't know, mid-low or something, or a mid-high, and both hits look very similar. It's useful to turn this off. That way you can actually focus on visually identifying both strings. So sometimes I do turn this off. And I apologize if you can hear my dog in the background. He's rolling around on the bed like an idiot. Alright, so recovery animation. Usually I keep this off, but it does have its uses. And I guess I'll go over them now. So if I turn it on, right? Let me start by turning it off. So if it's off, right? And I attack, or I do anything really, right? Nothing really happens. He gets hit, whatever. This is all stuff that we've seen before. This is all stuff that you're going to see if you go into training mode for the very first time. If we turn it on, though, what ends up happening is that you're going to see both characters turn blue. They're going to have like a blue coat over them. You see that? You see that? You see that? Like that? And the reason why this is useful, number one, if you don't understand frame data, or you don't have frame data and you don't have like the internet or something, then I guess this could be a useful like substitute to understand frame data or to like guess what the frame data is. It's pretty shitty for that situation though, so I would not recommend it for that. What it is useful for though is being able to visually determine how much time you have to whiff punish something. Because when you look at the frame data on something like RB Norway or Tekken Chicken, I don't even know if that app is still around, but when you look at the frame data, it doesn't tell you the recovery frames on anything. right? If you have Tekken bot, it does tell you that. But if you like playing on PS4, right, you don't have access to Tekken bot, so you can't look at the recovery frames. So what the recovery animation does is that it gives you a visual indication of how long you have to whiff punish something. This is useful if you're trying to practice whiff punishing. So let's say I record Heihachi doing Demon Uppercut, right? And I want him to whiff. How much time do I have? I have all the time in the world, right? When you're in a match and you see this for the first time, or you see it a couple of times, you're just not really sure, you might think you don't have as much time as you actually do to whiff punish this, but you have a long time, right? I could do that to whiff punish it. So I have all the time in the world. I can probably orbital him there. Yeah, I can orbital him there. And this gives you a very good way of being able to judge the amount of time that you have before the window to whiff punish closes. Another thing that this is useful for is if you're fighting against somebody like King, thank God for this feature. Let me go to King really quickly. Right, so we have King here, right? And what does King have? He's got chain grabs. Why is how does display animation with chain grabs help us? Well, all right. So King is gonna do this throw. Actually, let's do. Where is it? This. So King is gonna do rolling death cradle, and I'm gonna turn off display recovery animation. So he's gonna do it to me, and there's a couple of windows for me to break this throw, right? Because it's a multi-throw. There are multiple windows to break, where it becomes a mix-up basically. I have to guess what he's gonna do. If I mess up though, throw is guaranteed and I get locked out. So now stop doing your stuff, and now I'm gonna turn on recovery animation. I don't know when I'm supposed to break any of these throws, right? I don't know where the windows are. I'm just gonna sit there and mash and mash and mash and mash and mash and hope that I get it right. If you turn on recovery animation, Brian and King, well, Brian specifically, right, because the throw is happening to him, what's going to happen is he's going to be blue during the throw, and he's going to flash to look the way he does right now. And every time he flashes to look the way he does right now, that's when you're supposed to break. So let's just play. At the start, I can break it. Break it, break it, break it, and then that's it. Right? That's the way you do it. That's the way you figure out where you're supposed to break the throws. That's what this is useful for. So whiff punishing and throw breaks, or chain break, or chain throw breaks, or multi-throw breaks, whatever you want to call it. Now let's get to other settings here. These two are basically the same thing. These two are basically the same thing. These two are the same thing. And there's an option missing here because we have King as the dummy, right? And I'll talk about it in a second. So the first option is counter hit. What this does, every time I hit him, it's gonna counter hit. Right? So if I wanna like practice, I wanna practice my magic 4 combo. This is the way I would do it. This is much easier than having to key charge every single time you wanna do it. Because doing this is really annoying, at least in my opinion. Multiple counter hits. I don't really know what the use for this is, but basically what is going to happen here is every time I hit him, every single hit is going to counter hit him. 1-2 will never counter hit both hits because it's a natural combo. So that's why I say this is not really that useful. Most stuff that you want to check, like if the second hit counter hits, is the third hit guaranteed, you just back up and test it like this. Right, whatever. Then random counter hit. This is a good way to practice hit confirming counter hit situations. So let's say I want to practice counter hit confirming Brian's back 1. So if he gets counter hit, I'm going to do the combo. If he gets normal hit, I'm not going to do anything. Right, he got counter hit. Now let's try this again. Right, he got counter hit. Okay, let's try again. Right, he got counter hit. He got counter hit. And now I'm not going to do anything because he didn't get counter hit. Right? That's useful, and it can be a little bit, you can make it harder for yourself by doing something else that I'll talk about later on. And like I said, this is the same thing, except for the dummy, so if you're recording the dummy doing something to you, you can do it this way. This you probably won't be using that often though. Player rage, this just turns on rage. The problem with this is that the less health you have while you're in rage, the more damage your rage art does, and I believe every attack does more damage with the less health you have. It might just be your rage art though. I'm not sure because there's no way for me to like reliably test that. If somebody knows, you can go ahead and let me know in the comment section. That'd be greatly appreciated. But so if you have like 1 pixel of life left versus if you just got into rage, your rage art is going to do a different amount of damage. But because you cannot like manually set the percentages of health in here, you can't actually like test how much damage does my rage art do when I have, you know, 1 health left. You can't do that. So this is just like if you want to practice combos, or you want to practice situations where like you block a rage drive and you want to see what you can do after. This is the way you would do it. It's the same thing for the opponent. And here's another way to check if you can break a throw. Right? If I turn player throw escapes on, I'm going to have King do his multi-throw, and I'm not going to press anything, and Brian is going to automatically break it. Right? He breaks it automatically. I'm not doing anything. I'm not pressing any buttons. I'm not doing anything. So this is the way I can check. Can I break this? Right? So like Eddie's throw out of handstand, that's unbreakable. If you turn this option on, and you see that your character is still getting thrown out of that, or still getting thrown by it, then you know, okay, well, it's unbreakable. I can't do anything about it. Then this just turns it on for the opponent. Input delay, don't ever mess with this. This simulates online lag. This is stupid. Don't ever change this from 5. Unless you want to completely ruin all of your typing. So, alright. That gets all of that stuff out of the way. All of these are going to be used in conjunction with the first page. And even though there's only 4 options here, this is, without a doubt, the most important page in training mode, or in the training mode in this game. So, CPU opponent action 1, this is literally just what he's going to do, what King is going to do at the start. So right now he's set to stand, and he's just going to stand, right? If I set him to stand guard, he's going to stand guard. Now, it's important to know, this says standing guard, right? So that means he will not block low. He'll block special mids, he will not block low. Right? No matter what, he's not going to block low. If I set him to stand and approach, if I back up far enough, he's going to start following me. This is useful if you want to measure wall carry on a combo. Like, can I get to the wall from this position with this combo on this stage? You back up to the proper distance and then do your combo and then see, you know, how far it takes you. And maybe you compare it to another combo that you have off of the same launcher. This is the way you can check that. Crouch. King is just going to crouch, obviously. And when I hit him, stands back up and then he stays crouching, whatever. Crouch guard. Oh, I should mention this. So in crouch, this option is pretty useless. Because there's no way to crouch in this game without blocking or low parrying, right? Unless you like completely mess up the low parry window and you're just like holding down forward. Then I don't think you can low parry in that situation, but I'm not even sure because that almost never happens. But so you're gonna see here, right? He's crouching and highs will whiff, whatever. He's gonna get hit by mids, but he's also gonna get hit by special mids, which should not be happening if he's crouching. Because you blocked him crouching, and he's also gonna get hit low, which should not be happening because he's crouching, right? So crouch by itself is useless. Crouching guard though is useful because now I can check. Okay, this, yeah. He blocks low. He blocks special mids. Okay. This is more representative of what, you know, a real opponent can actually do. Crouch and follow, another pretty useless one. It's kind of like stand and approach, except he's going to crouch. Don't really know what the use for that is, but it's there. Guard all, he's going to block everything. So now if I go low, he's going to block it. Right? He's going to block everything. Random guard, this can be used in conjunction with random counter hit. So now if I wanted to practice, let's say confirming my back 1 counter hit combo, if he blocks, like that, I do down forward 2-1. If he gets hit, I do forward 3. If he gets counter hit, I confirm the counter hit and I do my combo. Right? So if he blocks it like that, I do a frame trap. If he gets hit, I do a counter hit setup, frame trap. And if he gets counter hit, then I do my combo. And that's the way I could practice all 3 of those things at the same time. And that's a decent way to practice your pressure. Jump, he's just gonna jump, right? So now I floated him out of the air. And that's not really that useful in slot 1, so we'll talk about that a little bit later when I get to slot 2. Neutral guard. Okay, so neutral guard is interesting in this game because if I don't do anything, right? If I keep my hands off of the stick and take my hands off of the D-pad, my character will naturally block. Standing. Okay, he will not block lows by himself. But there are strings in this game that will break neutral guard. Right? And certain things like Brian's taunt, for example, breaks neutral guard. So, what does this mean? If I set both options to neutral guard, right? I said he can't block low, right? So I'm gonna do down 3 plus 4, 2. And he gets hit. Even though he's technically supposed to be blocking, right? If I do taunt into orbital, he's gonna get hit. Even though it says he's guarding, but he's not, because neutral guard. Taunt breaks neutral guard, this breaks neutral guard, this breaks neutral guard. So if you're not actually actively holding back against your opponent to block, a lot of the times you can get blown up because certain situations will break the neutral guard situation like that, right? And then you'll get hit by the follow-up, even though you didn't press a button and didn't do anything. I guess it can be useful to like bait counter hit setups or whatever, but that's pretty dumb. Controller, this is if you want to sit in practice mode with your friend or whatever, you can go ahead and do that. Mimic, this is useless, don't worry about it, it sucks. There's no point in doing it. Basically, if I press down forward 2, King's also going to press down forward 2. If I backdash, he's also going to do that. Right, like, this is stupid. I don't know why it's in the game. CPU, this just sets the computer, and you can change the difficulty if you want to, like, I don't know, practice looking at what the opponent's going to do and seeing what a character looks like in action, you can go ahead and do that. Repeat action we'll leave for later on. Okay, CPU, opponent action 2. These are all the same thing up until here. Right, you have the same options: mimic, neutral guard, jump, random guard, blah 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 blah. But then down here you have sidestep left, sidestep right, sidewalk left, and sidewalk right, and backdash. So now if I want to check, let me set him to guard all here. Right, so now I want to check: does Brian's down forward 2 track after back 1 gets blocked? It doesn't. This is the way I can check if a move tracks. Look at that. And now I can ask myself, okay, well, what does track? But down forward 1 tracks, right? Down back 3 tracks in that direction. But now I say, well, I want to use down forward 2 because it's really important for me or whatever. Well, I can check. What if I delay it? It tracks him. You see? See? But if I do it immediately, it will not track him. So this is the way you can check tracking properties on moves. Now let's say I want to check if it tracks sidestep left. Oh, it doesn't. Does down forward 1 track that? Kind of. Right? Kind of, I guess. Does down back 3 track it? Kind of. Right? Sidewalk, same stuff. Backdash. Let's say I'm playing Brian, right? And I was talking about when I hit with back 1 on a normal hit, I'm going to do forward 3, right? But let's say I messed that up. I want to know, can he backdash out of forward 3's range if I mess it up and I accidentally do it when he blocks it? He can, and that means that he can backdash and hop kick me there, and that's a risk. So I have to be aware of that risk. Even though back 1 on hit is +7 and forward 3 is like 16 or 17 frames of startup, if I mess up and I don't do it when I'm supposed to do it, if I don't do the forward 3 when I'm supposed to do it, and then he's blocking the back 1, and he backdashes, he can potentially launch me for that, right? Some situations it will hit, and other situations it will not. It's kind of finicky. I think it might be based on the angle, or it might be based on the distance that the back 1 connects. I can't really tell because it's King. So if I had like Elisa or something like that, it'd be much clearer. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up all of this. So you can use these two in conjunction. So let's say, for example, I want him to stand block, and then I want him to jump. Because I'm going to do back 1, he's going to block it, and I want to do down back 3. Can he jump over the down back 3 in time? He can. Right? What if I do a jab into down back 3? He can. Okay, what if he gets hit by the jab, and then I do down back 3? He can. Right? So that's how you would use that. By default, this is my suggestion to you, to everybody who's new to this game. By default, CPU opponent action 2 should always be set to guard all. And the reason why is because if I take this guard all and I set it to not set like it is by default, and I go into the move list and I'm like, oh, look at this string. This string's cool. 1, 2, 1, huh? I wonder what that looks like. Wow, that's a 33 damage combo. You mean I can just do this to my opponent all day and he's gonna have to eat 33 damage? I can do this too. I can do this. I can do 78 damage for free and he can't do anything about it? Well, the answer is no, right? Those are not natural combos. If I set him to guard all, he can block that. So that's why this is important, because if you turn this to anything else, like not set, you're going to start getting false readings on what's a natural combo and what's not, and you're going to look like a scrub. So don't do that, right? You're going to think you found this sick combo, and you're going to post it on Twitter or on YouTube or on the Tekken subreddit, and people are going to laugh at you. So don't do that. Keep this set to guard all at all times, unless you need to check something. Like, let's say, for example, I want to check if 1, 2, 4 jails on hit, right? And then I'm going to switch it to crouch. So now he's going to get hit by the first 2, and let's see if he ducks for the 3rd hit. Hey, he ducked. It doesn't jail. Or it does, yeah, it doesn't jail. Right? But now let's say I want to check down forward 2, 1. Can he duck the 2nd hit of that on hit? No, he can't. So that's a natural combo. Right? And you can use this to infer like what punishes should I be using with the character, or what is the character's punish. Right? But if he blocks the first hit, you can duck it, but then I have that, right? So on hit, he cannot duck it. On block, he can duck it. So that's the way you check things that jail and things that don't jail. So now, actually, let's go over this really quickly. All right, so ground techniques, these are the fast techniques. These are your tech rolls or whatever, right? So if I knock him down, I need that. All right, stop. If I knock him down and then he's going to be able to, I want to check to see, can he tech roll in this situation? So can he get up quickly? Can he roll quickly? Right, so if I do 3 + 4, I didn't set it because I'm stupid. All right, if I do 3 + 4, he's going to tech roll, right? So this is useful to know because if I run up and I do taunt, he's going to tech roll into it, right? This is like the classic Vine thing. Like 3 + 4 into taunt setup, right? And then you do whatever you want to do. Quick recovery. So what does this look like? Well, if I knock him down, he does that. Can I float him out of that? I think I can, but it's kind of hard. I might not be able to. He might be invulnerable during that entire window, or he might just not be in range for me to hit him with anything. I'm not entirely sure, but anyways, this is an option, right? This is done by, I believe, holding forward. As soon as you're about to hit the ground, this is done by tapping square as soon as you're about to hit the ground, or I believe it's X for the other direction. I can't remember. I just do it instinctively now that I don't even know what button I'm pressing. Back roll. All right. So this is Brian's mock breaker, right? When it hits the opponent, they get like spiked into the ground like a Dragon Ball Z character, right? But if I set it to back roll and my opponent holds back, he rolls away. This is very important to know because this is a completely different distance than if he didn't back roll. Right? Than if he just got hit. I'm much closer to him here, but if he back rolls, he's further away from me. That could mean something good for King, or that could mean something bad for King. If it's maybe late in the round and he has a really big life lead, maybe it's something good, right? And we're on an infinite stage, he's created a lot of distance, right? Even though he did get hit, he's created a lot of distance between me and him. But if it's a walled stage, maybe it's not a good thing because he's rolling back, he's getting closer to the wall, and he's giving me all of this distance. Yes, I have to cover it, but at the end of the day, I can fight for that stage positioning much easier now because he's not in range. He's not in a range where he's actually threatening to me. And also, it's worth noting that at different ranges, if I just run at him, right, I get a different option. So if I run at him from that range, I get the tackle. But if I run at him from like super far away, I get the shoulder charge, right? So those kinds of things are also useful to check. And sometimes counter hits on specific moves, like Nina's Blonde Bomb, I think, if they can back roll that. So it's going only on counter hit though. If it counter hits, they can back roll and they can do the roll like this, right? But if it does not counter hit, then that will not happen and they cannot do that. I think that's one of them. I might be wrong about that. And that pretty much covers those. Stand up. Okay, so these are your stand up options, right? So if he gets knocked down and he holds back, he's gonna get up. He creates a little bit of distance, right? If he gets knocked down though, and he holds up on the stick or on the D-pad, he stands up exactly where he was, which does not create distance. Front roll. He's gonna roll towards me. He's not invulnerable during that time. I can hit him out of that. Right? You almost never see this option being used. Side roll. This is not the same thing as a tech roll. Right? This is delayed. You see how long it takes? So I'm going to try to run up and do the taunt setup here. You see, my taunt timing is now delayed. It's off. So I have to adjust for that. And that sort of, you know, creates a mind game between both opponents. Similarly, I think it's this. Maybe I'm wrong. No. Right. So if he doesn't do anything when he gets hit by this move, 3+4, and I run up, I can float him with down back 2. Right? Let's say he's too scared to tech roll. I can float him. If he's too scared to tech roll because of the taunt setup, I can float him. However, if he holds back, I cannot do that. That's the worst thing that will happen. He will get hit by the down back 2, but he will not get floated. He will get pushed away from me, and that gives him the opportunity to stand up. So that's a little anti-Brian thing that I thought I'd mention since I'm already here. Side roll, like I said, this is not the same thing. So if I do 3+4 and I do the taunt, it's off. I cannot do that. So if you're fighting Brian, you have to be able to mix up your wake up options. Sometimes you want to tech roll, sometimes you want to delay tech, sometimes you want to stand right up, sometimes you might want to wake up with a button, right? To maybe catch the Brian player and counter hit him or something like that. And here are your buttons, right? Wake up mid kick. This is -12 if I remember correctly. Yeah. Brian doesn't have like a real punish for this, so that's like the best thing he gets. But other characters can punish this, like Paul can do back 1-2, Kazuya can do back 1-2, and other characters have other things, right? Wake up low kick. Everybody knows this. Everybody's favorite wake up option, right? This is a different one from the other ones that I was showing you. So remember, he's knocked down, face up, feet towards, so he's gonna get that low kick. If he's knocked down in the other direction, he's gonna get that low kick, so on and so forth. These are all different. And just to prove it to you, he's face down, head towards, right? That's launch punishable. That one is not though. The face up one is not. So be careful. You have to be mindful of what position you're in when you're on the ground before you decide to press that button. Because if you press that button and you get red, you don't die. And you don't want that to happen. Recovery kick. This is the toe kick. Right, that's that. That's also launch punishable if I remember correctly. Yeah. So you got to be careful about that. It can also obviously be low crush. Right? But it is another option that you have. Spring attack. This is the one that I was talking about. This one is unique because, well, King has a unique one because it leaves him back turn, which kind of sucks because he can't block when he's back turn, right? So I'm gonna launch him. But nevertheless, even if I block it, like if I block the spring attack from up close, I can launch him. If I block it from further away, I cannot launch him because the frame data on block is different based on the range that I blocked it at. So this is the way you would check wake up options, wake up Oki situations. Is a specific move guaranteed on the ground after this string, right? So if I do something like this, can I actually run up and hit him with down 4? And the answer is yes, I can, right? If I counter hit him with hatchet kick, do I get that guaranteed? Yes, I do. Right, so that's the way you would check that kind of stuff for your own character. Alright, so now we're going to get into the most important part of the trading mode. This is the repeat action, the record functions, blah blah blah. So you have 5 slots, right? And down here you have interval between action. I leave this set to short. So this is basically the gap between his next action. So if I record one action here, he's just going to keep doing it. If I have this set to short, he's going to do it immediately. If I have it set to long, there's going to be a longer period of time between the times that he does the move, right? That's pretty self-explanatory. So here, you've got record and you've got move list. So for beginners, let's just start with move list. Now I have King's move list. You'll notice that I cannot check Rage Art, Rage Drive, and I can't check a lot of other things either. Because, I don't know, for whatever reason, they just decided that you can't do this with the dummy. But let's say I want to practice defending against king, right? He has 1, 2, 2 plus 4. How do I defend against this? No, look, he's doing it to me. I want to practice breaking this, okay, or ducking it, whatever, right? That's the way I can do it. I set him to do the move, pick the move that I want to do, and I figure out how to beat it. Is this safe on block? No, it's not. How unsafe is it? Let's see. Oh, it's minus 13 at least. How about 14? It's not minus 14, so it's minus 13. Very simple, right? And he also has this mix-up, which is a high. I can duck that because it doesn't jail. And I figured it out by having the dummy do it to me. And then I have my options, whatever, right? If I want to have him do some kind of a chain throw to me and I want to practice breaking it, or I want to practice visually recognizing what the break is based off of the whiff animation, I can do that. I can do 5 different slots and have them at different probabilities of happening, right? That's what these numbers mean. If I have everything set to 100, everything has an equal chance of happening. If I have one set to 0 and the other one set to 100, the one that's set to 100 is going to always happen. If I have them set to 50-50, they're both going to happen, right? An equal amount of the time. If I have one set to 70 and one set to 30, the one that's at 70 is going to happen more often than the one that's set to 30, right? Okay, so that's like the most basic way to approach this. But if you if you go to record, now all of a sudden I'm controlling king, and I'm controlling king, and I've got 30 seconds to check stuff, right? I can record him, and I can record for 30 seconds, and I can check what situation's gonna come up. Let's say I was fighting a king player online, they beat me, and I'm like, okay, I recorded the match, I'm gonna watch it back, and I'm gonna see what he did. And then I think of 5 situations that I saw, and I want to test it in training mode, and I want to figure out how to beat it. I remember I fought a king like when the game first came out, and he did this, right? This is what he did to me, right? Very gimmicky shit, because this is mega unsafe, right? But I got hit by it because I didn't know something, okay? And I'm going to try to replicate it here. You see that? You see what just happened there? And you see what happened there? You see that? Okay. So I went into training mode. I watched the replay back, or the video that I had recorded. I watched it back and I saw it and I was like, what the fuck happened there? And I went to check king's forward 1 on block, right? It's minus 5. So I was like, okay, I was justified in doing this, right? It's fine to do because it's like 16 or 17 frames. The only thing he probably could have done there is like a jab or something, but it wasn't really risky. And the payoff for me was pretty good because this is a counter hit launcher, right? And he did down 1 plus 2, and he hit me with it. So I went into training mode and I tested the situation out, and this is what I ran into, right? I saw this. I saw that and I was like, okay, well that's just like a very specific thing between King and Brian that can happen sometimes, because Brian's forward 3, even though it is a mid, it has a super high hitbox and it sucks in that regard. So I tested that situation out and I figured out the answer. Don't use that when you block forward 1, because if they do that shit, you're gonna die. So I labbed, what are the other options I could do against it? Well, I could do that, right? Down forward 1, it's 15 frames, and it's a mid, so it's really good. Alright, so now we have Brian and Brian, right? And let's say the Brian that I'm fighting is doing the same thing that I was doing earlier when I was trying to like counter hit confirm stuff, right? He has back 1, down 4, oh, fuck. It's like I don't play this character. Back 1 into down forward 2-1. And he's got back 1 into down forward 1, right? So let's look at option 1 first of all. Back 1, down forward 2-1. Can I jab that? No. If I jab, we trade, because back 1 is plus 3 on block, down forward 2 is 13 frames, so it's going to trade with a 10 frame move, which my jab is, right? So, okay, but I know that I can sidestep this, right? I can sidestep it right. Okay, cool. But I also know that he has this option. And if I sidestep, it's going to track me. Can I interrupt this with a jab? Oh, look at that, I can. Can I do it with a down 1? Yes, I can. Can I do it with a magic 4? It trades, but Brian's magic 4 is 12 frames, but Shaheen's is 11, so if I'm playing Shaheen, I can interrupt him. I can launch him for doing that. Right? So now, not only did I figure out how to beat this bullshit, right, this thing, I understand I didn't figure out how to beat it, quote unquote, because it's not like every time he does it, I know the exact thing to do. I understand the situation. I understand what he's capable of doing. I understand what he's likely to do or what's safe for him to do, and I have a plan in the event that that's what transpires, right? So he does back 1, I block, I wait to see what he's going to do, then he does what I thought he was going to do. Okay, next time he does it, I'm aware of that, I have an answer to beat it, so then I do that, and then I beat him, and then he adjusts his playstyle to counter what I did, and then, you know, it becomes an actual game as opposed to just Brian doing this to you fucking for 45 seconds or whatever throughout a match, and you're like, what do? I don't know how to beat this move. This move's so oppressive. Because it's not. So, where was I before I started going off on my rant about Brian? Yeah. So now I figured out, oh, I know how to beat this situation, or I understand the situation now. I know what my options are. I know what I can do when he does this and I block it. Not only did you learn that, but we also learned that Shaheen can actually blow this up pretty hard, right? He can't do much about the down forward 2-1, but that, who cares about that? It's not a lot of damage, or it's not a big deal, right? Because down forward 2-1 at any point, if he gets like desperate or he starts relying on that, I can just step in and launch it, right? So maybe not. Fine, let's do this. I can just step it, duck it, and launch it, whatever. But not his only way, because he has other ways to deal with it, right? He has like mock kick and 1+2 or whatever. But what's most likely going to be the next option, because it's the next safest thing he can do, is back 1 down forward 1. Because if he sees me stepping, he's gonna try to do that, right? But if I see he's doing that, well, now I can counter him. Right? And because he tried to do that, he just lost 61 health. Because Shaheen's magic 4 is 11 frames. So what did we learn? Not only did we learn what our options are after the back 1 situation, we also learned distinction between Brian versus Brian's matchup and Shaheen versus Brian's matchup. So in this particular situation, Shaheen has a better time, you could argue, than Brian does in this situation, because Shaheen has a 11 frame magic 4, which leads to a combo. Right? Whereas Brian doesn't have that tool. Brian sort of has to play it the honest way, right? He can jab him, but a jab compared to 61 damage is completely different, right? And so from sitting in training mode and from looking at these situations and bringing different characters in and different toolkits in, you can start getting a better understanding of what's going on in the game, what characters are good at what characters can actually deal with specific situations, like I showed in the King example, right? King was -5 and he did down 1+2, and I did a fucking 16 frame mid that's a counter hit launcher and he crushed it. Or he low profiled it, whatever you want to call it. Those kinds of things come in handy because you start being able to like recognize specific situations in a match, like somebody does something to you and something happens, whatever it is, and then you don't have to sit there and think like, why did that happen? I'm going to go into training mode. You've already done the work. You've already been in training mode. You know the system of the game. You've been in training mode enough times that you can just figure out on the fly what you're supposed to do, right? If he would have done forward 1 into down 1+2, and the down 1+2 beat my forward 3, then that would mean what? That forward 1 on block is like +1,000,000, and I shouldn't press a button. Because I've been in training mode, and I understand the system of the game, I understand the frame data, I understand all this shit, I understand how to figure out the answers to all of these problems, because I've spent enough time in training mode using these tools, and now I don't have to necessarily spend as much time in here. Now, if you pick a new character or something like that, then yeah, maybe you want to sit in here, you know, and practice your combos or whatever. Or practice your punishes. Whatever you want to do, right? Yeah, that's important. But when you're first starting out, you really have to spend a lot of time in training mode, learning the game systems, learning what each character does, and just understanding how to play the game. You should be spending more time in training mode than you should be actually playing the game, in my opinion. I know for a lot of people training mode is very boring, but in my opinion, this is actually the most fun mode in the game because this mode actually allows you to learn. None of the other modes in the game actually let you learn anything. Like if you play online, you're just gonna get, you know, fucking Brian players, 3-bar Brian players doing this to you. What do you learn from that? You don't learn anything from doing this on a 3-bar connection. Like you're sitting there thinking to yourself, yeah, I know I should be able to block that, but it's fucking 2 bars, and this guy's like in Zimbabwe or some shit. How am I supposed to block that online? You don't learn anything, right? But if you go into training mode, let's say you're getting fucked up by a character like Eddie or Huarang or, you know, Ling Xiaoyu or something like that. You go to training mode, you look at the options, you're like, all right, I know how to deal with it. And then when I fight one online, if the connection's good, I'll have an idea of what I'm looking for and how to approach the situation. And then if I lose, then I have more data to go back into training mode with and to look at and to study and to learn from. And if I win, then I can still look at that match and say, okay, well, I made this mistake and I made this mistake, or I'm still unfamiliar with these situations, or I didn't punish this situation the way that I should have, or I didn't duck that string, and then you go back into training mode, and now you know how to set up the situations and scenarios so that you can actually get better as a player. So, yeah, this was a pretty long video, but I think that explains pretty much everything. The one thing I would like to see changed in this training mode is I would like them to add a repeat action to not just action 1, but also to action 2, so that this way I could have Brian block something, right? He's going to block, and then he's going to do whatever I set in, you know, repeat action 2 in slot 2. This is something that Street Fighter V's training mode has. They also have a wake up option, right? But it's kind of different because wake up options in Street Fighter compared to Tekken are a little different. But they have an on guard option, so the dummy blocks something and then they immediately do something, and that's the way you can check frame traps and all that type of shit. Tekken doesn't have that. The only way you can really do it is like looking at the numbers and doing frame data like a nerd, or you'd have to switch to characters, which then creates a problem for new players, because what if a new player doesn't know how to do an electric? Now they have to sit in training mode and figure out the mechanics of how to do an electric, and that's going to take them who knows how many days to do before they can actually train for the situation that was fucking them up in the match before, which is all they cared about. They're not interested in playing Kazuya, they're not interested in playing Heihachi, they're not interested in playing Devil Jin, whatever. They just want to know, how the fuck do I deal with the post-electric Wind Godfist situation? And they can't check it. They can't check it reliably in here because there's no way to do it. Unless they themselves do the electric and then, you know, look at the situation. They record Heihachi doing it and then check the situation. But if they can't do the electric, then they're already like stopped at step 1. And that's because this doesn't exist. If you had it here where in slot 1, I could go to the move list and say, alright, do the electric here. And then in slot 2, immediately after that, I want you to do Demon Upper, right? And there's no delay between the two of them. This way, I don't have to know how to do Demon Uppercut, I don't have to know how to do an electric. He will do an electric and then do Demon Uppercut immediately after, and I can check, can I sidewalk this? Can I jab? Can I press a button here to interrupt? And I don't have to worry about being able to do the electric. So that's one thing that I would like to see them add to this. Before it was going to be the character select thing, but they added it, which is really awesome. I'm really appreciative of that. So yeah, I hope that this video explained everything to new players. I know it was kind of long, but I hope you were able to stick with me, and I hope everything made sense. If there's anything that you're unsure of, then feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer your questions as usual. But yeah, thanks for watching.